feels, and it can become chaotic for some. There's a mature, appropriate way to handle things. This is something I face, like the dilemmas I face at the cross, and thinking, wow, the rebellious nature of some, when there's a problem that turns into confusion. And I'm thinking to myself, maturely, even when you're trying to be a communicable person and have a resolution, where people have to communicate. There has to be a resolution. There has to be a compromise. You can't expect people to do more than you're willing to do, or the no accountability or not reciprocation. And this is where it can be emotionally, mentally drawing. That's what I call like a form of witchcraft, because one person's rebellious and the other person's trying to find the peace in the scenario or bring peace to it. That's why I always say you can't let people pull you into their storm. You got to pull in your. But you could be righteously angered, because it would be exhausting for anybody that's trying to live in peace. To when you're dealing with people that lie under rebellious natures or curses, maybe they've seen a lot of cursed lifestyle and it's became of them, and then you're, like I've said in my other videos, you broke free from all that behavior. And you're trying to be the better person. Even sometimes, like I said, you can't keep watering yourself down just to get the approval of I'm not going to say anything because I don't want them to be upset, but they're not caring about your feelings. Righteous in me, it says if someone sins against you, tell them. That's communication. That's what that Bible verse means. To communicate with others your feelings, to be able to express how you feel, or how someone's making you feel, or if someone's wronged you, if someone sins against you, tell them. If you don't let no one aware of your boundaries or what your expectations are, how would they be able to stand for what your expectations are? I don't think that's being mean. I think that's being rightly dividing some truths in your life. I said, when you become a healed person, and it's like, when there's a problem, it shouldn't turn to some kind of catatonic state. This is where you can see people are in a state of rebellion, and even if you try to address it appropriately, sometimes if they're hostile, there's like, what peace could you bring to that? Where it's derogatory behavior, and this is why I said, you'll be the bad guy no matter if you say the right thing, you're wrong. If you say the wrong thing, you're wrong. Because when people are accusatory spirits are manifesting, that's their state. That's what their rebellion is being carried through. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's why I tell people, you have to be cautious how you speak to people, what you say, because people remember how you make them feel. There's people that carry wounds from 2nd and 3rd grade on up. I'll never forget that day you belittled me, or I'll never forget that day you spoke to me the way you did, or, it's something like, you cannot take back words once they are said. That's not being naive. That's being, having empathy for other people's life. Wanting them to feel okay, wanting them to be better. Taking the precautionary measures that's required, because you do unto others as you want done unto you. You reap what you sow. Are you sowing discord? Are you the one causing the problems? I just had this discussion with somebody, because when I talk about people, I talk about my problems because I try to work through them. Like when you talk about them, you can kind of resolve them in your own mind too. And then, so you're not making drastic decisions or irrational ones at that. So sometimes it takes talking to somebody. I don't worry about what people say, think, or do. When I'm speaking of it, my motives are pure, and I want a resolution, So sometimes it takes, all the apostles, disciples, prophets spoke to us. Remember, they left their medical. They spoke about their growth. That's how you grow. You speak your life into your own life. But in life, you'll have those trials. But it could be handled appropriately to bring peace. There's a natural recourse of life. In the world, you have trials. But how are you handling those trials? there's just things I think about differently at this cross. I'm always going to be the better person and do what's right. I mean, I really can't decipher through the rebellion. I can't wrap my mind around it any longer. I don't understand it. It says rebellion is this thing witchcraft. That's like a dominating, a Jezebel or an Ahab spirit. Now I get righteously angered when I know, because if you're trying to be the one always making the peace, people pleasing, they call this carnally, trying to bring the peace into a scenario else, and it's not reciprocal, or is trying to do that, you're exhausted emotionally and mentally all the time. It's like, wow, and you're lost in your own mind because you're thinking, I'm doing everything to make this right. I'm doing everything to fix this. And no one can see that they can't see the spirit of error they bring to the table. They don't see their error, And I'm like, so sometimes there's no accountability on one side. Brotherly love, the key of David, or, I get upset. Of course I do. I have emotions. Even Jesus was angry with the wicked every day. He hated the deeds of the nickel, So these are God-given emotions, and anybody would be righteously angered over about people that don't appreciate or value your boundaries. That's not being mean. A loving person doesn't mean letting someone destroy and annihilate your peace, or or manipulate or dominate your life, enslave you into their or you can't be this person, or you can't talk this way, or we don't want you preaching, or that's someone who's telling you can't be what God created you to be, or you can't follow your hopes and dreams. That's a manipulative spirit. Because if you're around people who are for you, they're gonna say, I'm glad you've overcome that, I'm glad you're better, or they're gonna talk you up, lift you up. They're gonna, people will bring peace to your life. Like they say, the spirit is truth. The spirit is, just because you have the spirit. Remember, Elijah suffered from depression. He had emotions. He suffered from anger, depression. He was scared of Jezebel. So it's not like I'm not inhumane. They always expect you to be better than they're willing to be, or if you love Jesus, that's not the way he acts. Well, how can anybody say that's not the way somebody acts? Because the Bible says that he was angry with wicked. He avoided certain people. He warned us of different drinking the wine of Babylon. He warned us of being yoked with the fallen, or intermingling with them, or So the Lord knew about all these things. So how can you say that how we're supposed to act or not act, or what's appropriate or inappropriate, when it's all nothing moves under the sun? He said there's a time to love, there's a time to hate, there's a time for war, there's a time to kill, there's a time to heal, there's a time to live. He says there's a time for all these things. So I just, like I said, when you come, I try to be at peace as much as possible. And when other people aren't living in that directive, they'll try to say they're, like I have all that stuff's making me crazy. Why? Because I don't want to be combative. I don't want to argue. I don't want confusion around me. The Philadelphian Church of Brotherly Love doesn't mean agreeing with someone's sin. That's where people get it all wrong. Oh, well, you're just supposed to love us no matter what. Well, the Lord don't love you no matter what. You don't love your sins. You gotta quit. That's a heresy in your mind. You keep having him groom him to accept you as you are. It says, without holiness, no one shall see the Lord. Nothing defiled will enter his presence. If one of the greatest angels got thrown out for sin and pride, we're not getting in there. Pride, rebellion, righteous anger is not prideful. That's being like distraught over people's bad behaviors. Not bringing the discord or division in your life. It's sin to cause division in the brother's life. To stumble, oppress, confuse, defile. That's in the Bible. I mean, it would exhaust anybody's well-being. Some mothers and parents do it to their children. Some people, husband and wives, do it to each other. The sword you live by is the sword you die by. That means the truth or the spirit of error. Spirit of truth or spirit of error. What sword are you living by? Because your sword is what's going to make you live or die. So I would say, what sword are you carrying? And your tongue's like a sword. It is. To love somebody is not to agree with their abominations or their bad behavior. The Lord wouldn't water himself down for anybody. All right, I'm going to agree with the deception you're under. I'm going to agree with your bad behavior. The Lord would never say that. Why would I say that? Why wouldn't I address someone who's being a malbenefactor to my well-being? Why wouldn't I say, he says, if someone's in the kitchen, tell them, say it if your voice shakes. Don't worry about who's offended, worry about who's being deceived. Why would I water my, there's a difference of loving somebody and then loving somebody till you die. You can't love somebody if they're destroying everything in you, your well-being, your growth, your betterment, your new identity. It's hard. It's hard to love somebody that's unlovable. It's hard to be kind to someone who's unkind to you, or grateful to someone who's ungrateful. There's so much to I thank the Lord every day for my health. I do. I go through a lot in this world. I know with the Lord, he revealed to me who I was, but that doesn't mean I don't get angered. I may not handle it the same way, but I get upset. I get upset when I see when there's confusion always brought around or people living. That would upset anybody. That's not being hateful. That's a sound mind. Say, wait, this is inappropriate behavior. This is inappropriate. It says it's a sin to cause division in someone's life. Be a busybody or a gossiper. Now, to address your problems with somebody and speak to them for a resolution is different than gossiping. Like, this is what I'm going through. You should have a confidant or someone you can confide in, but not someone who's going to use it against you at a later date. That's like guard your tongue in front of a wicked person. Because you gotta, that person can run with that information, and if they're not for you, they can use it against you later. You see this a lot in today's society. You see a lot of things in today's society. A lot of unhealthy people, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically. This world, people used to live to be 100, 130, now they're living only to 30, 40, 50 years old. There's a lot going on in this fallen world right now. I told you the Lord showed me mirror images, inverted images, everything was upside down and backwards. I know that vision was to show me that this was everything it wasn't supposed to be. The world is not as it should be. I will preach. You get to a point where it's hard to, you just start, and I talk about the desensitization, like when you're faced with chaos all the time. That's the hardening of the brazen image of your heart. Evil desires. Other people's hearts and minds will fail them for the things that come upon this earth. That's a desensitization process where the enemy could sit and dwell in your temple. That's what I remember the Lord telling me always. Don't let them make you cold. Don't let them wax you cold. Don't let them make you angry. Don't let them turn your heart from me. And I have to redirect my thoughts. I have to redirect my heart every day. Fight the good fight of faith every day, because I'm facing and days are evil. You're not gonna omit it out of this world. It's just not. It's that bad. I this every day where I have to regroup, recheck myself. I spend a lot of time alone. I spend time in my car because I don't want to deal with confusion. That's not being mean. You gotta remember that it says that evil person not happy unless they're causing division in someone's life. Misery seeks company, or those who try to save their life will lose it. Those who lose their life for Christ's sake will find it. At this point, I'm ready for the Lord to come. I really am. I don't know how much more this earth can withstand. What's happening in Gaza is the end of all things. I talk to people about some things, and some people don't even believe that the time is near. And how do you convince them? Sometimes I'm lost for words at a lot of things now. I'm not going to be derogatory towards anybody or put name call or put anybody down or bring up names. That's not what I represent. But I'm just saying in generalization, I face rebellion on a daily basis. If it's not here